A few years ago, the World Bank estimated that agricultural land in India makes up 60% of all land on the subcontinent. Clearly, agriculture is an essential industry for our country now, just as it has always been. It is an essential need for humanity to have sustainable food production and a sustainable way to make a living. Clearly, we've come a long, long way since the first Green Revolution of 1968. But there's still many a slip between planting a seed and achieving a safe, quality harvest that can bring the 213 million hungry mouths down to zero. Producing a healthy, resilient and safe harvest is still a challenge for India. Did you know that India loses 18% of its crop yield every year due to pest attacks? We can value the financial loss due to these pest attacks at 90,000 crore rupees every year. Hello and welcome. I'm Manvi Dhillon and you're watching DuPont Presents The Par of Shunya Quest for Zero. Over the next half hour, we'll look at the challenges facing the Indian agricultural sector and at two companies pushing Indian agriculture forward, helping it modernize for the 21st century as they pursue their goal of zero crop failure and zero hunger. It gives me great pleasure to welcome on the show Professor M.S. Swaminathan, the father of the Green Revolution in India. Professor Swaminathan, thank you so much for joining us on the show. You played a leading role in the Green Revolution in India. What at that stage was the importance of innovation, and what today in Indian agriculture is the importance of innovation?
Innovation is the foundation of our progress. Science is the change agent, transformational agent. Whereas information technology today, the mobile phone has completely transformed how we communicate. Therefore, always technology, innovation are the starting point of great changes. Small incremental changes you can produce by other methods, but larger jumps can come only from innovation.
Agriculture, why is it still so critical for the economy, for our growth, for our development as a nation?
Agriculture is not only a food producing machine in our country. It is the backbone of the livelihood security system of over 60% of the population. It used to be 80% in 1947. Fortunately, some diversification has taken place. But 60% of our present population is a very large number, more than the whole population of India at the time of independence. Therefore, it's a livelihood industry. And if you want to ensure the abolition of poverty, malnutrition, we will have to attend to agriculture, particularly to the farmers, the farm families.
If you had to list the top three challenges that Indian agriculture faces today, what would you put on that list?
One is climate change. More frequent drought, more frequent floods. We are not able to predict weather in the same way as we used to do before. The second important is ours is a country of young people. It's the land of the youth. So demographic dividend in agriculture from the young people. Somehow the younger generation don't want to take to agriculture. They want to take to other, maybe IT, maybe other kinds of, once you are educated. So how to attract and retain youth in farming is a very major challenge. And the third very important point is the fact that we are not able to provide the farmers with all the inputs which are needed, the assured marketing, the storage, post-harvest infrastructure. Media are always full of stories of how the grains are rotting and so on. We have not made enough investment in the area of post-harvest technology. These are serious threats to future of food security in our country. I have often said the future belongs to nations with grains and not guns. Guns you can purchase, but grains you can't purchase.
One aspect of it is also crop losses due to pest attacks. One estimate suggests that India loses 18% of its crop yield to pest attacks. How large and grave is this problem?
Our problems are faced with what I call the unholy triple alliance of pests, pathogens, and weeds, because we are a tropical country. A lot of weeding is also there. So they use herbicides and so on. Now, anything which is applied in excess or without proper scientific advice will have strong repercussions.
Many farmers have benefited from the use of pesticides. These scientifically engineered agricultural supplements not only reduce crop failure, they bring economic benefits to the farmers and ensure food safety. But what if pesticides do more harm than good? According to a report by the Agrochemicals Policy Group, spurious and substandard pesticides accounted for 40% of all pesticide sales in India in 2012. The problem of counterfeit pesticides is a huge one in India. And if we are to achieve zero crop failure and ultimately zero hunger, we must find a way to ensure that our products actually help rather than hurt farmers. DuPont has taken up the challenge of countering counterfeit and substandard pesticides with a holistic approach. Take a look. Most people living in the village of Mavana in Meerut are engaged in sugarcane farming. Until a few years ago, Sachin Kumar was a thriving farmer. But his ignorance about insecticides inflicted huge damage to his sugarcane yield, leaving his field dry and barren.
बुआई करी है उसके 40-45 दिन बाद में हमें कीड़ा हमारे गन्ने पे लग जाता था और 50% नष्ट कर देता था। और जब हम मार्केट जाते थे तो मार्केट जाकर हमने अपने दुकान वाले से कहा कि हमारे गन्ने में ये बीमारी लगी हुई है। वो दवाई दे देते थे और हम उस पर छिड़काव कर देते थे। छिड़काव करने के 10-15 दिन के अंदर तो काफ़ी अच्छा सा लगता था खेत, फिर भी ऐसा का ऐसा ही हो जाता था, पत्ती सूखने लगती थी, हमारी उपज नष्ट होने लगती थी।
To protect farmers like Sachin, the DuPont Crop Protection Team is leading the fight against the menace of counterfeit insecticides, which has serious implications not just in the fields but also down the food chain. We often don't get a sense of how counterfeit pesticides or substandard pesticides affect the entire value chain, from the time you plant a seed to the food that you put in your mouth. Walk us through that impact, if you will.
If the chemical is not good, it can actually damage your crop. So it can burn your crop or cause a lot of injury to flowers, leaves and other things. Now if a farmer is applying a spurious chemical without knowing what is inside and what's the recommended pre-harvest interval, so he can potentially apply very close to harvest, which then makes it very serious because then the chemical gets into the food chain and then it's carried over into the market.
To avoid such repercussions, DuPont Crop Protection is empowering sugarcane farmers with an economical and easy-to-use chemistry called Coragen. This formulation increases the productivity manifold and keeps the counterfeiters at bay with the innovative IZON technology and traceology. Mr. Mudholkar, let's talk about the specific technologies being deployed by DuPont to address this issue of counterfeit pesticides. IZON technology, what is it?
So this is a genuine Coragen bottle and it has IZON sticker, which is a genuine DuPont technology sticker. So if you observe closely inside the sticker, this is a 3D technology IZON sticker, and it has around DuPont oval, 10 dots arranged in a specific sequence, which farmers can identify with. So if they observe carefully, they'll know that this is genuine. Secondly, this has a unique identification number, which then they can send it to the on SMS to our call center, which replies back to them, conveying whether it is a genuine product or it's a spurious or counterfeit product. So that's original. And there are counterfeits in the market and copycat. So this bottle looks very similar, but the Izon is not the original one. So this is cut from some bottle and used here.
What about traceology cloud system? Is that different from Izon? Do they work together? For the lay person, explain it.
So it's the way we are looking at it is, I think, bring the QR code. So it could be either embedded as part of Izon, and it's work in progress for us, or it could be a different system on the bottle, which helps us track our product right from the factory gate till the time it reaches the farmer. So the tracing that we will do of our product will help us, keep a track of which batch is moving in which market.
फार्मर डूपोन्ट का कोई भी सामान लेने आता है, सबसे पहले वे आइजोन स्टिकर देखता है। उसके बारे में फिर जो है मैसेज का नंबर लिखा हुआ होता है, मैसेज करके देखता है तो जो है ये प्रोडक्ट असली है या नकली है। उससे जो है प्रोडक्ट का पता चल जाता है, मैसेज आ जाता है कि ये प्रोडक्ट वैलिड है, किसान संतुष्ट हो जाता है।
The crop protection team of DuPont holds regular meetings with farmers and also collaborates with the local village bodies to spread the knowledge of authentic DuPont products amongst the farmers community.
जहाँ तक नकली और असली की पहचान का सवाल है, तो जैसे DuPont ने इनिशिएटिव लिया, इनके होलोग्राम प्रोडक्ट के ऊपर हैं, जिससे हम SMS करके या उसको आइडेंटिफाई करके ये जान सकते हैं कि ये प्रोडक्ट असली है या नकली। ये फार्मर को और जो हमारी ग्रोअर एसोसिएशन जो ग्रुप्स हैं उनको हम समझा रहे हैं।
For the past 2 years, Sachin has been using DuPont's Coragen in his sugarcane farm. He can now distinguish the authentic DuPont product from its counterfeit and knows well the technique of spraying it in the fields.
इससे हमारे गन्ने की मोटाई भी बढ़ी है, लंबाई भी बढ़ी है और उपज भी ज़्यादा अच्छी हुई है और इससे जो हमारी पैदावार 80-90% बढ़ गई है।
By bringing such revolutionary solutions for crop protection in India, DuPont is creating a significant impact in the Indian food system, aiming for a zero hunger objective along the way.
We are aiming with crop protection chemicals, zero crop losses from pests and diseases. So if we do not have zero counterfeits, it's not going to help us achieve that objective in the first place. You have heard our Prime Minister talk in the context of Make in India, zero defect, zero effect. So counterfeits are all about full of defects and full of effects because they have all the defects, so therefore they will not help you protect crops from losses, and all the effects because they're not safer to environment, to beneficials, to food chain, to soil and water. It's all the more important in agriculture contests that we should have products with zero defects, and they should be safer to environment, so zero effects, which together will help us produce more, leading to zero hunger objective.
Our first story ensures that pesticides meant to protect crops from damage-inducing pests are real and helpful. Our next story also looks at how to achieve maximum food production through zero crop failure, but it studies just how vulnerable a standing crop is to bacteria that hampers a quality harvest. It's not a vulture or a crow or any other kind of bird for that matter. It's a drone, India's new high-tech eyes in the sky. And it's being used to man our farms and fields. So far, drones have been used for border surveillance, for national security purposes. But why can't these small flying objects be put to use for something as important as farm surveillance? Let's take a look at how this remotely piloted aircraft can actually minimize disease, increase yield, and cut costs. On the surface, these brinjal plants look healthy. But as the plant grows, keeping an eye out for pests is quite a task. Like any other farm, this one too is threatened by a myriad of diseases. Viruses can destroy entire fields.
If one plant is affected by diseases, it will spread through the next plants and all. It will spread through the next plants and it will affect totally damage all the brinjal leaves.
So there's a risk to the entire crop if one plant gets
Yes,
it.
affected.
Trying to find a solution to control crop disease is Bhushan Gosavi, a former engineering student of the Chennai-based Veltech University. His project, the remotely piloted aircraft, can help farmers survey crops from the air to identify disease and infestation. For starters, what is the focus of your project?
Project was to design a remotely piloted aircraft fitted with a suitable biosampler. Once this was done, we can fly the aircraft in the nearby fields, and we can collect the air samples at that particular area, and from the infection of these samples we can tell at what particular biota is present in that particular area. So on basis of that we can just make results like what kind of pesticides we should use, or what kind of preventive measures that we should take to prevent infection from these from these biotas.
What is agricultural biota?
Agricultural biota mainly consists of fungus and bacteria. They may be transported over a large distance in the atmosphere. This transport generally takes place in the primary boundary layer, that is extending from 50 meters to 1 kilometer above the surface of the earth.
Has this aircraft been put to work for real farmers in real fields, or is this still a university project, still very much a prototype?
We have flown the aircraft in few of the locations and we have collected the samples and we have investigated them. We have found some of the biotas in particular area which are injurious to the paddy fields and tulsi fields. We have found them.
This innovation uses an unmanned air vehicle fitted with a biosampler to collect air samples. Bhushan's model of the remotely piloted aircraft is fitted with 3 samplers, one at each wingtip and another on the fuselage. Instead of using internal combustion engines, he is using the electric propulsion system so that there is no risk of polluting the samples. The aircraft is flown by a ground pilot at a desired altitude and samples are collected.
In India, none of the people use the fixed wing for the biosampling, and especially for zero crop detection, zero error in the production of crops, and it will use to forecast the disease which is going to be happen into the field.
The collected samples are then taken to a lab where they are investigated for the presence of pathogens that are harmful to the crops. If the result is positive for these pathogens, then the farmer can take remedial action.
In this plate, if you are coming across 2 different morphological structures are there, any mycologist, experienced mycologist can easily identify this as a contaminant and this as a typical fungi what they need. So this is isolated from the field and this got as contaminant. So this is how they used to differentiate, and based on this they used to give the report.
Once this remotely piloted aircraft is out in the market, it can be a major step forward in the quest for zero crop destruction and zero crop disease. Do you think that this aircraft is a major step forward in the quest for zero crop destruction, zero crop disease?
Yeah, surely. This aircraft will aid in detecting the presence of biota in a particular area. So after we detect the biota, we can take the preventative measures that to kill the biotas before they harm the crops. So ultimately, we will be achieving the zero crop failure or the power of Shunya.
With all the learnings from this episode, we speak once again to M.S. Swaminathan to assess the role of science and technology in agriculture. Professor Swaminathan, what role do you see for science-backed, cutting-edge technology in Indian agriculture?
That science with cutting-edge technology will determine our future. If you don't have enough science determined our past, science will determine our future. As Nehru said, the future belongs to nations who make friendship with science. And therefore, friendship with science and agriculture is very important.
Can you foresee a future in Indian agriculture with zero crop failure, zero losses for the Indian farmer?
I won't say zero crop failure is possible. Suddenly there may be hailstorm, there may be many things. But I think we have already minimized the loss. We have reduced the loss due to weather conditions and so on. And by building up what I call compensatory production strategies, there is a monsoon management strategy. If we adopt it, we can minimize the loss and maximize production in a good season. Maximizing production in a good crop season, minimizing loss during the adverse season should be the twin components of a strategy.
Professor M.S. Swaminathan, thank you for sharing your insights with us on the show today. From scientists who are trying to counter the menace of counterfeit pesticides to an innovator with a drone trying to combat crop disease, we travel the length and breadth of the country to bring you up close with innovators working towards the goal of Shunya crop waste and ultimately Shunya hunger. That's it on this edition of DuPont Presents The Power of Shunya, Quest for Zero, a show that celebrates science and innovation, technologies that could secure our future, human ingenuity that could reduce our challenges to zero. Till next week then, goodbye.